All right, guys, welcome back to another episode on WGR Garage, and we're working on the YJ Jeep. So we got a ton of stuff done on this thing, and here's the recap. Alright guys, running into our first issue already. So I got this adapter, basically adapts a 5.3 flywheel or an LS flywheel to a Turbo 350 or Turbo 400 torque converter. And all it does is center it so you can bolt it in. And you'll have to elongate some of these holes unless these are already been drilled, which a couple of them look kind of wallowed out already. So I'm assuming they already did that. But anyways, this needs to go into here, right? Fits into there nice and snug, and then does not slide over this. It's actually about 5 thousandths too small. So I'm assuming the quality control on this was not good enough, and it's about 5 thousandths too small to go on to the torque converter. So already on hold until I can bring it into work and put it on the lathe. So as soon as I can put it on the lathe, they can shave off about 5 or 6 thou, and it'll fit on there nice and snug like. So unfortunately, can't even put the transmission together today. So back onto some fab work. Do something, I don't know. Maybe I'll fix that rear axle because that seems easiest, or probably not the easiest. That's the biggest project I have is that rear axle. So let's go tackle that. Alrighty guys, so I got the axle welded in. It is not going anywhere, I promise you that. So axle solid welded in. While I was doing my measurements of tire to inside frame rail, tire to inside frame rail, and front back, I noticed that the whole axle was shifted over about, I don't know, 2 inches or so. So this is the track bar. And I need to cut roughly, I don't know, 1.5 inches out of it. So this lines up with this, obviously. So there is adjustment to it, but I don't want to adjust it all the way in. Well, for one, no matter what, if I adjust it all the way in, it's still not the right size, so it needs to be shortened. So we'll cut 1.5 inches out of here. I'll try to save this bung, and then we'll re-weld it back together. And then the back's pretty much good to go, except for, dang it, I forgot about that. I was gonna pull this chunk out. Dang, that sucks. So I was gonna pull this chunk out while I had the axle out. That would have been really easy, and now it's stuck underneath there. Now I gotta figure a way to do that with, I guess I could disconnect the whole axle and drag it this way. I don't know. Anyways, I gotta spin this chunk around at some point. And it would have been really easy while I had the axle out. So Okay, live and learn. So we're gonna cut this up, re-weld it back together, and that's done except for that. Okay, so track bar's done. That was pretty easy. It looks like it's spot on now. So the next thing I have to do is break a bunch of OSHA violations, and yeah, it's gonna be really sketchy because I gotta somehow take this track bar out, lift the Jeep up as far as I can, get this chunk out, spin it, put it back down. So that's what I'm gonna try to do next. Fun. Okay, so I got sidetracked a little bit trying to figure out how to lift the back end of this thing up, and I was like, well, why don't I just put it on the shocks and fill up the shocks? So that's what I did, but I forgot to record it. Anyways, I welded in this bar. It had to be moved about 1.5 inches downwards, so the shock will bottom out before the axle hits the bottom of the track bar, or before those get mad at each other. So I just basically knocked this bar out, lowered it 1.5 inches, welded tabs on, put the shock in, and then over here I'm about to do the same thing. I just knocked out that bar, the shock's just chilling in there, and then I kind of got it in my plasma table / quench tank. So I'm waiting for it to cool off so I can put my bolt through and then line everything up and weld this piece back in. So alright guys, air shocks, fully aired up, still pretty sketchy, so I kind of threw that idea out the window. And it also isn't really tall enough for me to get underneath there and remove the chunk still. So the best bet is going to be to disconnect the one link, move the whole one link out, or the whole rear end out, use a cherry picker and hoist up the chunk. So that's the most guaranteed way of not dying and getting it done. So, and that's what I'm going to do. Alrighty guys, I got the center chunk spun, and this is the hard part. So every single hole needs to be picked up and drilled into the housing. So I have to drill and thread the housing now wherever there is an empty hole. So you kind of do your best with these ones under here because they're trickier. But yep, that's what the next task at hand is picking up and drilling all the holes. So we'll do that, and then I can put the axle back in and we can hook up a drive shaft. That sounds cool. So I guess we have to make a drive shaft. Can't hook it up yet unless it's made. So anyways, that's what's up. Holy cow, that was way more involved than I thought, but I got every single bolt to line up perfectly. Everything's been spun. I thought you could just pull these chunks and spin them and then use all but 2 bolts, and that was incorrect. So you can use 2 bolts on each side, and then you have to drill and tap every single other hole. So I just spring punched it and tried to draw a little circle best I could, scribe it into the housing, and then drill holes, and they all lined up pretty good. So that's done. Now I can put this thing back together and we can start making a drive shaft, and pretty much done on the rear axle besides assembly. It doesn't have axle shafts yet, so we'll stab those in, and then the rear end's good. Okay, so I think the next thing I want to do is mess around with some bump stops. I'm just going to basically, now this is already bottomed out as much as it'll ever be bottomed out. So basically what you do is make it hit this link. I'll build some, plasma cut out some tabs that basically go grab this can, and then we'll go from there. So we'll see if I can't make something work, make it look cool. And then we'll be good on the bump stops. that's pretty cool. So I needed to make sure that when I flex this thing out, that this bump stop pad stays in contact with the bump stop. So it looks like it's good there. It shouldn't move off the bump stop. I've done that on my Rockwell buggy where the bump stop keeps sliding past the bump stop pad and then gets caught underneath it. It's really annoying. So anyways, yeah, that was kind of fun. So we'll drop it back down, undo my cargo strap, and then we'll weld on this side bump stop pad too, and then the bump stops are done. So I think they turned out pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy with them. So just built some cool little brackets for the frame, and then on this side it has the bump stop pad already on there. So I had to tag it with some WGR. But yeah, we'll put this thing back down on the ground and continue working on it. Alrighty guys, that is where I'm going to call it quits on today's video. We got a heck of a good start on the Rockwell Jeep, so if you are enjoying this build, be sure to like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.